We are living currently under the influence of a idea or a thought that, according to all the smart people that think they know everything better than us, meaning the teachers that teach our children at school, the religious people that manipulate us with their religions, the politicians that govern us, and especially the great scientists that are always so ready to prove everything with their little science. Everybody has been we have unanimously agreed upon and endorsed and accepted that this idea is the most important idea in our lives. And immediately it became the foundation, the new foundation on which we have founded our modern system of life, way of life on. And we have done this without understanding that we have again based our lives, our system of or way of life on an error. The way we have done this in the past, for instance, when we believed that the world was flat, for instance, and there were many, many major fundamental errors that we based a lot of most of our life on our system of things. Or for instance that we couldn't go to the moon, or and everybody, all nations started to run to make these great changes in their own system of life without really understanding and researching. And now things have fundamentally gotten stuck in the world, and in a much graver way than in the past with these other errors or problem error thoughts. With these other errors, we somehow were able to realize that there were errors and we could move on, but we moved on, building, removing one error with another error. But in order to get out of this error that we are in, we have to, as it were, open our eyes, because this error is a much more profound error. It's an error in the very system of thinking that we have. We have now the very way we think. That's the idea that is governing the world at the moment. And in order to do this, we have to open our eyes, and nobody wants to take responsibility for this, because this is the main. This is, like one would say, the meta method that we are running in the modern world, which is the system of taking things apart. For instance, science takes things apart in variables in order to understand reality and control reality. For instance, the whole project of CERN and the particle accelerator is to ever more, by colliding particles, to come to the smaller building blocks in the illusion, or hereby the delusion, that this can lead to understanding what reality is. But in the process, what we are doing is, as it were, ripping a hole into reality, a black hole, because the reality cannot be taken apart in parts. These poles, these opposites, need to be connected. But we find the same methodology in every area of life. In schools, we find how they separate subjects in soft and hard subjects. And medicine takes apart the mind from the body. And the church takes apart the woman from the man, the Trinity with three women versus the Sophia, the feminine, the divine feminine, and which is the Black Madonna versus the white Trinity, if you wish. Or for instance, the other day we were busy with task descriptions, and what the model actually did was to take apart the measurable from the non-measurable, the soft from the hard from the soft characteristics. And this is basically in every area the method that we are running. The core thought is the thought of taking things apart, and the problem is that we then lose the whole. We lose the whole. We lose when you take apart the whole in opposites, and these opposites have to lead a life of their own. We lose the wholeness, and what we basically do is we create fragmentedness, dis-ease, and this current model, what it has done is, for instance, create the atom bomb, which is based on fission, separation. And the scientific model is like driving this process in which we take things apart to understand them. We take apart the lobster from the sea, and then we kill the lobster, and then we think we can understand the lobster in the parts, the dead parts, but the lobster in the sea is lost. So what I am saying today is that this is the model that we have now all accepted, and it is the model that is the fundamental error that we have, the foundational error that we have based everything on. In science, the observer is separated from the observed, but what I see in any scientific presentation, research, is basically that the observer is projecting their own issues on the observed, and you get like confessions of people's own shadow, and then we call that science, because science is operating under the wrong assumption that you can separate the observer from the observed. And this is why in the stairway that I have been delineating, the first step is that step where we operate in this faulty point of view where the observer is separate, which I call too close. And the step of stepping back means to step back from that division and to achieve a kind of a third person perspective of ourselves, where we see the observed and the observer as one. How am I generating what I am perceiving? If I am in a depressed state, I will perceive everything around me as too big. And this is why the way out of this abyss for the separation of the parts will just take us lower and lower to this idea of ripping reality apart and opening up a black hole into darkness, if you wish. Is that we need to connect these sides, and we, the people, have to make this change, because as I started off with, all the smart people and the scientists and the religious people, it's all, the whole system is operating according to this idea of divide and conquer. but it's the division is mental, and the gist of this video is that we need to know that when we take things apart outside of us, that we are taking ourselves apart. When we take things apart outside of us, we're taking ourselves apart, and that's the message also that I gave on the Facebook yesterday, and that is that this approach is creating all of this decay and this dis-ease and this decaying of the system. Everybody is sick and decaying, and nobody is, and we're not healing from these diseases because this ease is coming from this way of thinking that we have all adopted and that we are running. Namaste.